one of his children was armed. This is a Herald story out this morning. One of his children was armed when specialist police officers approached their hideout in the bush, according to information that was obtained by these Herald reporters. Lance Burdett spent over 2 decades in the New Zealand Police and was was their lead crisis negotiator, and he is with me at the desk this morning. Lance, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being with me. What a delicate situation for the Special Tactics Group to be involved with.
Yeah, they're highly trained in tactical, obviously the name is that, in situations where there's unique skills required. But they're also trained in the ability to switch from one role to another very, very quickly.
Which is what they would have had to do in this case.
Which is what they would have to do in this case, exactly. So the normal situations is it's cordon, contain and appeal. Now in this situation, and the appeal is done by crisis negotiators who would have been there. Crisis negotiators never go forward. They're always back somewhere safely because they don't know the skills that are going to be needed if the situation turns to custard and firing starts. So in those situations, when they're confronted with somebody who they see is young, they have the ability to switch straight away to a different persona. And oftentimes you'll see them, they will just drop down onto one knee. The rest of the team will be covering them off, and one person will just drop to their knee, will oftentimes just put their weapon down and talk immediately. It's a skill set that's trained and few can do it.
How often would they encounter a situation like that where they have to be those 2 different personas for a child?
In my career of 13 years as a crisis negotiator, I would have seen it happen 3 times, 4 times. Yeah, it happens more frequently than we'd think.
Where do you get trained? Where does the training happen? Who does it? How many are trained in this type of specialist role?
So usually they're selected from the Armed Offenders Squad. So they Armed Offenders Squad who has a high degree of training and then trained every more. But a lot of them are ex-military who have had a high degree of training in high dynamic situations anyway. So they are very humble, very quiet. You would never know who they were. They're just, the skill set is amazing. They're happy to share that. They're very much like Special Operations Group, the SAS. So they're that type of, and some in fact, a couple of them have been in the SAS. So they're very, very well versed and skilled in what they do. They train with Special Operations Group, not just in New Zealand, but also in Australia and internationally.
Right. We saw yesterday, I don't know if you saw this on the news, but there was an incident in Wellington CBD where police were using, I think they were called diversion guns or shotguns to try and distract. There was an armed situation going on there, which thankfully has been resolved. What are those?
I'm not sure if they were distraction devices. To me, they look like smoke canisters being shot through the window. They could well be that, but if they're distracting somebody, that means that something's happening on the other side.
Right.
It's a highly it could be depending on the situation, and particularly if it's a high volatile situation and they have to end it. So I don't know a lot about the Special Tactics Group. I only know from crisis negotiating, but to me, it seemed that they were just firing in smoke canisters or gas canisters, probably.
When you are going through crisis negotiation training, what's the first, we see in the movies, you see, learn the person's name, try to have some rapport with them, that kind of stuff. Is that actually what you try and do? How does it start?
Absolutely. It's that relationship building. So I used to train the police negotiators at the police college, and what we do is you have to forget that you're a cop. Now this is the dilemma that negotiators have. You have to have the ability to see it from their position. So let's take the case of Tom Phillips, for example. What's his motive? What is he thinking? And if you were to negotiate with Tom, it's what is the key to getting him out? It would be the children. And so you'd focus on that, and you really build up quite a strong relationship. And it's a hell of an emotional thing when you go through this. So you have to decompress afterwards. So you do form a relationship. Oftentimes it's said, we just bore them out. It's not like that. You really have to be their friend.
Lance, what kind of person does it take to do that job?
Someone who has been through trouble themselves and have worked through it. They become the best negotiators. For example, I had depression in the police and I was very unwell. That gave me an insight into the other side of what it's like to be in mental distress. And I was then able to use those skills. They don't see rational thought. They don't hear rational questions. So you have to be able to establish a rapport by being their friend.